then. Very good. Okay, I'm going to call our open session to order. It's 5:30 p.m. 5:30, and we are going to start our meeting with public comment for closed session items only. Do we have anyone here making public comment on any of our closed session items?
I do not have anything on text for that.
I'm sorry, 1 second. Let me pull up the email. I don't have that open.
There's no one on Zoom.
I'm comfortable going ahead with roll call, and Michelle, feel free to let us know after roll call if there are any emails, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Great. We'll go on to 1B roll call.
Trustee Donnelly,
Unmuted, present.
trustee Friedman,
Present.
trustee Rodriguez,
Here.
trustee Izant Gonzalez,
Here.
trustee Jackson Miller.
Here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we get a chance to see if we had any public communications on closed session items via email?
We do not. No emails.
All right, sounds like we didn't have anything on text, email, or no one wanting to come into Zoom. So we're going to go ahead and convene to closed session. So board, we're going to close out this Zoom session and we'll see you in closed.
Oh, I think we're not on there yet.
We are currently live, FYI.
Okay.
George, are you on here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know I always ask you this. When it's my turn, I just do share screen to present my presentation, correct?
Yep.
George.
I'm sorry, when share screen is on, I guess I'm not seeing who all is here. Wait, now I'm scrolling down. I just wanted to make sure everyone was here. I'm just gonna need another minute before I can start things. Okay, sorry. All right, this is a little awkward. I can't see anyone. Michelle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I can only see you.
Oh.
What I'm seeing on my screen is the closed session image, so I can't see. For some reason, I'm not able to see everyone. So I just wanted to make sure. Oh, there we go. All right, I just wanted to make sure we were ready to go, and hard without a visual. Thank you. Everyone ready to go?
Yep.
Very good. Okay. Then welcome, and we are going to call our open session of our regular board meeting to order. So we will, and I'm just double checking. Yes, here we go. Okay. So we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance from a Soquel Elementary School District, Soquel Elementary student. And I believe we have our principal here to make an introduction, correct?
Yes. Hello. Superintendent Turnbull, Cabinet, Board of Education, thanks for having us. So for Soquel Elementary, we have Jocelyn McCahill.
Hi. Do I begin?
Thank you for coming.
Of course. Do I begin the pledge now?
Sure, Jocelyn, if you don't mind starting us with the pledge, and then we're going to read your certificate and say a lot of nice things about you and ask you some questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
All right.
Please stand. Place your hand on your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. And sometimes our students who help us by leading the pledge also read our district's mission statement. Is that something you're able to do? Oh, we would love that, please.
Okay. Soquel Union Elementary School District mission statement. Staff, students, parents, and the community share the responsibility for each child's success. We are committed to ensuring that each student develops the skills and confidence for lifelong achievement and is prepared to make a positive contribution to our world. Thank you, Jocelyn, for reading that for us and for leading us in the pledge.
having that start to our meetings is always a really good reminder of our core purpose and why we're all here, and hearing it directly from a student is really special to us. So thank you. I do have a certificate. If we were all together here in person, I'd be handing it to you and shaking your hand if that were an okay thing to do anymore. But with your permission, I'd like to read it, and then we'll see if your principal has anything he wants to add on maybe after I read it. And so here we go. I'm going to read the Soquel Union Elementary School District Board of Trustees Certificate of Recognition for our Student Pledge of Allegiance leader and mission statement reader. Jocelyn is a 5th grade student at Soquel Elementary. Jocelyn is a truly dedicated student, class leader, and positive role model. She puts her all into everything she does and always has a kind, encouraging word for classmates and friends. She's an avid reader and an amazing writer. Jocelyn consistently shows maturity and hard work in her learning, grappling with complex ideas enthusiastically. She has a bright future ahead of her. Congratulations, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Principal Witter, anything you want to add on to these glowing words?
No, that sums it up. Jocelyn, thank you very much. And she wasn't able to do it last time because we planned to, so she was very excited to do it this time, and I'm just glad that we were able to.
Thank you. Jocelyn, if it's okay with you, can some of the board members ask you some kind questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Phil, looks like you've got one.
So do you write for fun? And what, if you do, what is it?
So, like I would get together with my friends and we would like create this kind of like magazine, and we would send it to all our parents and like their relatives. And it was like kind of a little magazine business. And yeah, that's kind of where like my writing skills improved.
That's super cool, Jocelyn. I really like hearing that. I wanted to ask you about some of your favorite books that you've read recently.
I like a lot of books. My favorite genre is like fantasy, and I've read the Hunger Games, and there's this new series. It's called Keeper of the Lost Cities. I don't think you've might heard of it, but I just like to read a lot of books. It's kind of like what I do in my free time.
Thank you. Questions from any other trustees?
No, that sounds great. It sounds busy. I mean, putting together a magazine with you and your friends. Have you ever thought of maybe writing a script, doing a play?
I haven't really the only play I've been in was like in 2nd grade when we like did this little play, but I didn't really speak. So maybe I'll think of like being in a play later, maybe in like middle school or high school. We'll see.
But you could write one too.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Are you an artist as well?
Yeah, I really enjoy art class at Soquel, and I also draw a lot at home. It's like, along with reading, one of my favorite things to do.
Is that one of your pieces behind you?
No, that's not mine, but it's
okay. Okay, I like
I'm
it.
not really an abstract art person.
Are you? Good. Okay. Great. Well, maybe I'll have one of your pieces behind me. Very nice to meet you. Very, very nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to meet you and to hear you speak tonight.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. We're really glad to have you. And as Trustee Donnelly mentioned, some of the trustees have New Brighton Middle School student art behind them as their background. So give you a preview of some of the art offerings in middle school. But again, we really appreciate you being here. So thank you for taking the time. And thank you, Principal Witter.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks, Jocelyn.
And Jocelyn, you're welcome to hang out and watch the rest of the meeting, but you probably also would rather go be doing something else, so we understand. So thank you. It was very nice to meet you. And we're going to keep rolling on to our next item, which is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Oh. It's like Jeopardy.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right, we got Ted first and Carolyn second. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, we had all 5. All right, all in favor. On to item 3C, report out of closed session. We met in closed session. We have nothing to report. Next item is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion. Carolyn?
Jen, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Great.
President Jackson Miller, if I may just quickly interrupt, we have one call-in user, meaning that the way that they can access the meeting is by calling into the Zoom number. So with your permission, we're going to let that person in using a landline phone number.
Sure, that's fine. Is that for the next item, public communication?
Yes, and it's also the way that they can access the meeting, given that they don't have YouTube access.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
But there's nothing I need to do to
Nope.
allow any access. It's all okay. Good.
Just didn't want you to turn off when you saw the extra square in there.
Thank you. I do try to
They've
keep an
been
eye on our
admitted.
squares. Thank you. Okay. Much appreciated. So we have just approved the consent agenda. We're moving on to public communications. The following channels are available for public comment, and all of these are listed on the agenda, which is on our website under the Board of Trustees section. So there was the option to email before the meeting, email during the meeting, text during the meeting, or video conference during the meeting. And if you'd like to comment on an agenda item, so something that's on tonight's agenda, you will do so. You may do that at the time of discussion on that agenda item. So this is our time to take comments for things that are not on the agenda. 3 minutes can be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. Trustees can't take actions on these matters, these non-agendized matters, unless these matters are placed on a future agenda according to law. If the item's on the agenda, again, you'll have the opportunity to speak at the time the agenda item is discussed. Please address the board president. These proceedings are video recorded, and board members shall hold the education of students above any partisan, principal, group interest, or personal interest. And with all of that, now we're ready to accept public communications. I know there's someone listening on the phone. I'm not sure if that person has a public communication.
What?
Yes. Are you here tonight to have public comment on a non-agenda item? I believe that you are.
Yes, can you hear me?
Can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead and first of all, welcome, as President Jackson Miller said. Thank you for being here. And when you go, please state your name, and please do remember the 3-minute rule that was referenced by the president.
Thank you. This is Marilyn Garrett. I've been there in person. I like in-person meetings best, of course. And I am a retired teacher of 30 years, having taught elementary school. The Hippocratic Oath states, first, do no harm. That oath also applies most importantly to those who are responsible for the well-being of children, whether it's the parents or the society or the schools. First, do no harm. Harm is being done to children by these masks, by Wi-Fi, and there's a lot of evidence that you have been presented with. And I have a document here from Weston A. Price Foundation, and the title is Myths and Truths About COVID-19, Contagious Virus or 5G Microwave Technology. Part of the facts in here include information about masks. So it states, myth, wearing a mask can protect you against COVID. Truth, more than a dozen credible medical studies prove that face masks do not work, even in hospital settings. Even if COVID-19 were caused by a virus, which it is not, The pores on the recommended mask are bigger than any virus. Another myth, wearing a mask poses no danger. Truth, analysis of face masks worn by children found 11 dangerous pathogens, bacteria that produce poisons under conditions of low oxygen on the mask. Masks also reduce oxygen levels, leading to headaches, reduced immunity, hypoxia, and brain cell death. We don't want that. We want the mask removed. On the back of this flyer, and I'll be glad to get some, it's a trifold, COVID-19 and the 5G connection. Many epidemiological observations and biological studies indicate that the disease called COVID-19 is actually radiation poisoning caused by exposure to microwaves used in 5G wireless technology. The biology, COVID-19 and radiation injury, the symptoms are the same. Fever.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. That is
I'll
our 3-minute
get
limit.
these, I'll send them to the district, but I really want you to first do no harm by removing masks and removing the wireless microwave. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. I'm seeing another call-in user. Is that someone who'd like to make a public communication for something not on the agenda?
Please, thank you for muting. On the screen, the person is labeled call-in user 1. Is that somebody else who wants to make a non-agenda public comment? I also have a hunch that I have noticed that sometimes on the call-in, they might show up twice on a screen. So that may have been the previous speaker. If not,
I've seen no audio activity from this caller.
Okay, we'll assume that until they say otherwise. So
Great. Can we move on to, have we received any emails for public communication?
I have one. This is from Annie Duncan. I think you did an amazing job. Very proud of you. Please keep writing. You are very talented, Annie. I think this was in regards to Jocelyn, our speaker.
All right.
There is nothing on text.
And I assume no one else on Zoom. Okay, thank you, team. Very good. We'll move on to our standing reports, and we'll start with our assistant superintendents, whomever is ready. I think we usually lead with, oh my gosh, we're not sitting in the room, so it's hard to know, but I'm going to, Jessica, okay to start with you?
Absolutely. I always hate going after Michelle, so this is quite a luxury for me. As we begin our discussion tonight, first I'd like to say good evening, board and members of the board in our community. It's great to be able to share what's going on in the ed services part of our world. I'm just going to share a few highlights tonight. The first of which is on Friday, January 21st, we held a district-wide professional development session on the topic of trauma-informed care with the emphasis on our current condition. This development was in particularly designed for not just our certificated staff, but our classified staff and our administrative staff as well. And it was really well timed and well received with some premier presenters that we hope return to us who also work for our County Office of Education. As you also probably know, our staff have been engaging in parent conferences over the past couple of weeks and will continue on. But this time with a few notable and exciting additions. First of which is at New Brighton. The conferences this time were student-led. And this was really an experience of trial, but I think a trial of success. And the students were really responsible for sharing their perspectives on their learning, but also their strengths and challenges. Their flex teachers during these conferences help facilitate those meetings, but really the students were the carrying guides of these conversations. And I think that this is just a great start to what we will see be a very large benefit to our student population in general and their families. At the elementary, we've also seen a new addition and change to the conference process. And this has been a really unique addition to parent conferences, one which I have not seen in another district in quite this style. But these conferences included an EL student pathway to English proficiency. And it was a discussion sheet that each of the parents of English learner students shared with the families to help families understand transparently where their students stood on the road to proficiency in English. So this is really exciting for our students, but also for our families who have really asked us for information about how close the students are and where their skills lie in the area of their development. Also, our dual language immersion work group met January 26th. And we had a really thoughtful and creative group who had conversations about students and curriculum and teaching and timelines and school visits. It's a very strong team, and they are really the perfect partners for successfully planning forward. So I'm really happy to announce that that team has begun their work. In addition, our Mission Kickstart team has started meeting, and as recently as today drafted a draft mission for our district, and we've offered it to the full team for a review and a think through. So I really appreciate the opportunity to start kind of word crafting that. And then last, we've had a staffing shift at Opal Cliffs. You might know that Lori Kearney is taking the place of our beloved Suzanne Denham, who has moved on to a temporary position at the county as a SEL specialist, SEL specialist. And we really are so excited for her. We will miss her, but know that we have Opal Cliffs in good hands. And Opal Cliffs is continuing to grow. So as our condition of the world changes, so do our students' needs. And we are having conversations with families weekly about the opportunity to kind of transform a learning environment for students. So all great and exciting things, but certainly not the extent of all of them, but just a few highlights. So thank you to the board and thank you to the community for all you're doing to support us.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, Michelle, sorry I got us backwards.
That's okay. Good evening, board. Yes, so last few weeks, probably with everything with everybody is COVID. And so we have been doing a lot around that all of our divisions, actually. We've had some staff out, and so that's created some holes, but I have to just say I'm so proud of all of our staff everywhere, because no matter what, everybody just pitches in and does whatever they need to do to make sure everything gets done, ordered, delivered, and gardened in every way. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. We have a presentation later, two presentations later, actually, to the board, one from Climate Tech and myself, to give the board an update on where we're at with that project. So I'm going to leave that to my presentation item. And also, I attended the governor's workshop on the upcoming budget and got more details on that. So I also have a presentation item later on that. I would like to say we did just get hot off the presses our audit report for 2021, which I'll be presenting to the board at the next board meeting. But I wanted to give a spoiler alert. We had no findings, so it's going to be a great audit report. I just wanted to sneak that in there. Staff has been working hard, kind of to piggyback on what Jessica had said. We have got the shade structure in at Opal Cliffs and some TVs put up in the classrooms. We've ordered picnic tables, and George is completing our internet connection through Charter. So now we don't have to go through a third party. So all great things will happen real soon when we're able to bring our kids back to do some hands-on learning up at Opal Cliffs. And I think that is my report out for this evening, because everything else I have will be later. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Scott?
Thank you. I'd like to remind everybody that we have a community forum, an LCAP community forum coming up a week from tonight. That'll be virtual. And it's always a great way to get input from the community and also be able to, we have all our administrators there. So it's a chance for anybody in the community, parents, etc., to engage with site and district administrators. We'll do a little presentation, state of the district sort of thing, and leave lots of time for a Q&A in this virtual setting. I'll piggyback on the mission statement Kickstarter team that Jessica referenced. It was very exciting, and we'll all build up to bringing some of that information in an official capacity to the Board of Trustees for their consideration. I'm very, very pleased with the team that came together. I think it's cross-representative of classified employees and certificated employees, etc. And it's my goal is to blend the best of the current existing mission statement, also with infusing it with some of the new thinking we're doing around racial equity and issues like that. So I think we have a real good chance to blend the best of the old and the best of the new together. I had a nice visit today. I won't steal too much of Ted's thunder, but I had a nice visit today with board member, with Trustee Donnelly over with at Soquel Elementary with Principal Witter. That was really engaging, and I think really was just in an hour walk around the campus really represented some of the great social emotional work and the welcoming environment that we're so proud of at our schools. We have racial equity work coming up next week at both at multiple levels and over the course of the next couple of weeks at all levels, including administrative board workshop and the Racial Justice Task Force. So we'll have lots to report out in the next few board meetings. I really want to again express how much gratitude I have and that we all have for everybody that is stepping in. During the Omicron surge, many districts, as was referenced in an article in the Lookout Santa Cruz news source, many districts around the state really had hard times filling positions as folks and teachers were out with COVID or with COVID related absences. And while we certainly had that, I really believe that two things. One, the just all hands on deck mentality is not just lip service. And again, I referenced before, middle school teachers subbing during their prep time, intervention teachers at elementary sites stepping in to sub, putting their own work to the side in spite of its extreme importance, administrators putting their work to the side to sub in classrooms, both site and district administrators. And I think that approach, although it's been really hard, I'm not going to lie, I don't want to candy coat it for my staff. I do think that approach has made, the many hands make for lighter work kind of approach. And while it's been hard, it hasn't been hard on just one particular group. And I think in addition to that, just the serious attention that everybody in the community and everybody in our school communities, including staff, has has paid attention to the COVID mitigation strategies, kept our absences at somewhat of a minimum given the circumstances. And so I'm just very thankful for that. We are also meeting with an expanded transitional kindergarten team that includes teachers and classified staff on that team as we seek to roll that out next year in the expanded window. And we'll be starting enrollment and registration, if you can believe it, on February 11th for the 22-23 school year. And we'll have language out about that new window of dates for transitional kindergarten. Finally, I just wanted to say that staff and community and parents will be receiving a letter tonight about some updated guidance on COVID-19, especially as it relates to exposed, unvaccinated students whose parents are willing to have their children engage in weekly testing and their access to extracurricular activities, including sports. So be on the lookout for that. And please know that at all times, superintendents are working diligently and working collaboratively with public health to always try to find the best solutions to maintaining as much normalcy during the school day and with extracurriculars as possible, while also staying as safe as possible. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you so much, Scott. We'll move on to items from actual CSEA. And I see Enrique Domo. So sorry, Enrique Domo. Mr. Domo, would you like to give an update?
Good evening, all. I am glad to hear about or I'm looking forward to hearing about the new mask mandate this afternoon or this evening, so I'll wait for that email. Last week, we had a meeting with the CSEA members, and we are all happy about the summer assistance program that we should be getting information about here in the next couple weeks. We are excited about the MOU, which is the 5-day sick leave extended plan. We're appreciative of that as well. And I believe there may be something coming out from the governor as well that we're happy about. As far as all the members, I'm still gathering a little bit more information. We are in a good place, but there have been some concerns about some of the CSEA employees being a little bit overworked or basically just a little tired right now. And as Mr. Turnbull, you said, all hands on deck. We CSEA members have our hands on deck, and some of us, and like I said, I'm gathering more information, and at our next board meeting, I'll present that with you. But what they want is, we're hoping that after COVID is done, that there won't be such high pressure on a lot of us members. And that's pretty much all I have to say. But thank you very much.
If I can just say one thing besides just thank you, Enrique. My comments were not about a mask mandate, just to make sure that I don't unintentionally.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, it's no problem.
Unvaccinated.
Yes. Other issues related to COVID, but not a mask mandate.
Yeah, not mask
with that.
Unvaccinated students who are possibly able to participate in after-school sports.
Got it. Thank you, sir. And thanks for all you do and for all our classified employees do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And boy, it's a lot to keep on top of all of the ever-changing rules and regulations on this. So thank you for the updates. And next we'll move on to an item from SEA, and I believe we have Ann Fendisak here. If you'd like to, hello there.
Hi there. Good evening, everybody. Well, next week is going to be a big one for SEA. We'll meet again for our next general meeting on Monday, February 7th. We're also preparing for an upcoming bargaining session on Wednesday, February 9th. Did I say December? It's February. On our general meeting agenda will be a number of topics, including an elections update, upcoming administrator surveys, negotiations, dual language immersion at SoCal Elementary, universal TK, and COVID protocols. Over the past couple of weeks, many sites have held SEA site meetings to discuss issues related to their school sites. Student Services SEA members also met to discuss an upcoming bargaining proposal, a proposed MOU, as well as the larger issue of staff turnover in student services. Following that meeting, we've signed the proposed MOU, which would provide additional support for special education resource teachers who have over 28 students on their caseload. We appreciate the extraordinary commitment and expertise of all student services staff, teachers, paraprofessionals in every area, counselors, psychs, speech pathologists, occupational therapists, and all those who serve students who struggle. That's about it for me.
Thank you so much. It's nice to have you here, and thank you for the report and the update. Whoopsie, I was muted. Sorry. Thank you. If that didn't come across, thank you for the report. It's nice to see you. We're going to move on now to items from trustees. Any reports out from trustees? Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Okay, I did the Jeopardy button. Well, as Scott said, that we visited SoCal Elementary School today and did a walkabout with Principal Witter. And it amazes me how much history SoCal Elementary School actually has, and not just in our district, but in the county. It's one of the older schools, and it has a lot. I mean, there's a lot of rich history there, and the people that have gone through there. And which is really nice is that I actually stood and stared at the two-story buildings that are there now, and it really blends in with the school. It really, it's not an eyesore, yeah, you can't really see it from the road, but it really blends in. And another one is the county doing the trail in the back of the school, and then the with the fence, and it looks really nice. And it's amazing how that whole area, the area behind the school, is clear. It's clear, and it looks great. And we hopped in with Mr. Foster's class as they did a walk down to the creek, which he usually does with the students. And the pathway down to the creek is, I mean, there was a lot of water down there, and the path is just amazing. I remember my kids going there trying to fight their way through there, but it's just what the county did is just it is quite amazing, and it's a great place to take the students to learn. I mean, here we have one of the, if not the one of the oldest schools in the county, but then we have this beautiful creek that runs alongside of it. So it's just a whole educational joy there. And then we also saw the Life Lab, and that's big. It's impressive, and students were quite engaged with the plants and what they're doing. And then otherwise, I mean, it was just a great visit. And thank you, Principal Witter, for taking us on the roundabout. I know Scott and I wanted to push each other into the creek, but you stopped us. So, and that's it for tonight.
Thanks, Ted. Anyone else want to report out?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
I have nothing to report.
I attended the Santa Cruz County School Boards Association meeting, it was last week, and met our new CSBA PACER. But I'm going to let Amanda talk more about that meeting. And the other thing I did was I actually met with our new PACER this past Monday on a short one-to-one. And so I'm also meeting with her and our Region 9 delegation tomorrow. So a lot going on with that person. And Amanda, maybe you can explain what a PACER is.
Yes, actually, I even pulled it up to remember what the acronym is. It's a smart acronym. So PACER, they're Public Affairs and Community Engagement Representatives. So it's a nice program for CSBA, which is California School Boards Association, our lobbying and education and advocacy group here for school board members and governance teams. Now has these individuals who are here to help us do our jobs and are rooted a little more in our communities as opposed to being folks, you know, in Sacramento or Southern California, et cetera. So our new PACER for our region, and it took a while to get one in our region, but her name is Rachel Bickert. It's Bickert, if that's helpful for the minutes. And she worked for Senator Bill Monning for a number of years and has worked in other local government. And so she's very, very local to our area, even though she represents or works with a large area, many regions, right, Phil? I have trouble keeping track of all the region numbers in CSBA, but it's a central coast area and beyond.
Her area is going down to Ventura.
Right. And we're lucky enough to have her, you know, very, very close here in our community. So I think that's going to be a really nice resource for us, and particularly help us be aware of opportunities and moments where it might be helpful for us to do some advocacy with our local legislators. So yeah, as Phil said, I went to the Santa Cruz County School Boards Association last week, and that was our main presentation. And we had Dennis, whose last name is escaping me at the moment. I was waiting for Phil to hop in. Dennis,
the great guy.
Dennis, the great guy from CSBA, with a great update. And I'm just losing the last name. So we had a great update on all things, you know, nice little summary of budget updates, things that are happening in the legislature, et cetera. And And so always a good meeting to attend. And thank you, Phil, for being there. And I think I've taken enough time. So unless any other trustees have anything to add.
I will add that having Dennis at a small meeting that we had for just our county, unheard of. So he's got like a lot of school districts to deal with. So I'm glad he took all the time we wanted. So yay.
Yeah, he even wanted to stay on the call and listen to us each give our individual district updates, which was pretty cool. So nice, really nice group of people. Always great for trustees to hop on and attend if you have the time. And
can I ask a quick question?
You bet.
So with the census, did the CSBA delegates boundaries were changed because of this? Because I think you mentioned that they changed the area or increased the area.
So our area goes from here down to San Luis Obispo, and then on the coast and then maybe a little bit south. But for the Pacer, they extended her territory to more logical, down to Ventura, Santa Barbara, maybe. And so what's great about it is that she has every coastal community school district that pretty much there is in California. I mean, south is big towns and way up north is much smaller. So she understands our problem.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So some great upcoming trainings and events put on by CSBA, and the Santa Cruz County School Boards Association meeting is always a good one. So thank you for attending. And I think I actually volunteered. I'm going to be the vice president for that group coming up, because poor Roger Snyder, bless him, from Scotts Valley School District, he's been leading us as president, and he really needed a number two. So there you have it. That is our update. I think we're all set with that and ready to move on to our first presentation. So our presentation, the first one, is from Principal Witter regarding Soquel Elementary School.
I'll do a quick introduction. As Ted and I both referenced, it's perfect timing after having done a great visit there and able to see in person all the wonderful student-centered programs that are in place. And so with that, I'll pass the baton on to Principal Witter.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so trusting we can all see it. Okay, so again, Superintendent Turnbull, Cabinet, Board of Education, thank you for having me. And it's my honor to present Soquel Elementary programs and events for the 2021-2022 school year. And I'm going to cover our return to full in-person learning, our focus on instruction, enrichment, social emotional learning, student support, dual language immersion, and community. And we are just very grateful to have our Cougars back on campus and appreciating their resiliency. And 2021, 2022, it's a year we return to normal, right? But as we know, there's many not normal parts of this year. And so I just have a lot of appreciation for how well our students and our staff have done, even with all that they're dealing with. And so, things like, it's almost becoming old news, right? But things like masks indoors and the challenge of doing that all day long, right? For teaching or with learning. Things like the second picture I have in the middle right here, which is when we have them eating at tables, so we say they have to space. And so it's 6 students at a table and they go elbow to elbow as our procedure. So we still have spacing when they're outside and they're eating. The picture you see to the right is weekly, or now we've had enough time to where it's our twice weekly COVID-19 PCR testing. And so that's our MU, our multi-use room, and the Inspired Diagnostic Crew. And it's become pretty normal. It's really efficient, but again, that's thanks to our staff and our students. And we do that on Tuesdays and Fridays. Things like cleaning procedures, right, that we're still doing, that started before. Virtual meetings, not as convenient or preferred, but I just appreciate that staff puts up with it and more. And so being back on campus, means being able to focus more on what SoCal does best. And that is really strong instructional practices. I really believe SoCal is a strong teaching school. And so Readers and Writers Workshop is a huge part of that. And that is students are readers and writers. It's about setting up an authentic environment for them to do their best work. It's about students doing a lot of reading and writing. It's about our teachers differentiating. Cognitively guided instruction, our math program focused on mathematical thinking. And it's conceptual understanding and fluency, and it's students as mathematicians solving meaningful problems and assessment. And our English language arts and math programs, they're built on starting with what students know and starting with where they're at, right, with assessment. And we started iReady as our new standardized assessment that we're using this year. We just did our second diagnostic and really seeing consistent growth in English language arts and math, which is fantastic. And we're consistently implementing our reading and writing assessments. Enrichment. Enrichment is an important part of SoCal, and it is now, and it has been for a long time, which is a wonderful thing. And I just had a conversation with Ms. Bach and Ms. Blackburn, our art and music teachers. And they were just talking about really sort of the joy of working with our 5th grade students and the growth that they've seen after being with them for 5 years or now 6 years. So they've been able to consistently work with them for that long, and then what they're able to do. And we feel really fortunate to have added Life Labs. You're seeing a picture of it there on the bottom right that we took a look at today. And Ms. McElroy and her students have done an amazing job of creating the garden that did not exist before. So at the beginning of this school year, that was just soil in the whole place. And they're working on the life cycle, engineering, soil, seeds, composting, and much more. And another tradition at SoCal is staff collaboration, right? And it's the how we do our best work. And I think oftentimes we don't talk about this in education, which is how to set the conditions so that staff can do their best work with students. And just like how teams are the obvious structure in many other professions, they're the best structure for ensuring student learning and education. And so for our staff, this has been fortunately for many years. Typically, they divide their time over 3 days into math, reading, and writing, where they're planning units, analyzing assessments, planning differentiation. And then this year, we've also had a focus on English language development. And so that's been monthly collaboration with our English language development teacher on special assignment, and then monthly English language development, professional development as well. Social emotional learning was important, and with the pandemic and then now coming out of the pandemic, right? I mean, it's even more important. And so for us, that includes our ruler social emotional learning tools. So things like, and you're seeing some of it in the picture, being aware of our emotions with the mood meter and having that as a regular practice, regulating with the meta moment, reflecting when there are challenges with the blueprint. And our comm room is used regularly by students to use the ruler tools. And so you're seeing a picture right there of our comm room. All of our classes agree to and review their class charters, and really fortunate to have this year a full-time counselor with a school-wide social emotional curriculum that students do every other week. And that counselor, though, supports students individually with small group instruction, collaborates with staff. And we emphasize our school-wide student management program, which is, I know this is a mouthful, but the positive behavior intervention and supports. And a big part of that is explicit teaching of expectations, right? It's the reinforcement systems, reteaching, etc. And student support has been especially important coming out of the pandemic. And at SoCal, we have a really strong intervention team that includes our English learner specialist, our reading intervention teacher, and a math intervention teacher. And we do data meetings 3 times a year to analyze student progress and to plan next steps. So what you're looking at intentionally, right? So you can't read the details, but it's a picture of our data wall that we used in the fall, where we plan supports for students at different achievement levels. And we have intervention team meetings every other week that we call cost meetings. Our student study teams are used for students that need support. And just now in conferences, we're finishing up with our follow-up, our second round of student success team meetings, where we're seeing a lot of growth. We're going to finish them up tomorrow. And new this year, we've been implementing, we're calling them Cougar plans, that are behavior support plans for students that need more support. So in the behavior area, we call it the tier 2. And they include specific goals, positive reinforcement, daily parent communication, and it's been really successful. And dual language immersion. So we're planning our 2022-2023 launch in kindergarten. It's going to start very soon because kindergarten registration starts on February 11th. And we'll be making our list of Spanish-speaking dominant and English-speaking dominant students that are going to make up that class. We have a work group that Dr. Kieran had mentioned that's going to be researching and giving input on dual language immersion curriculum, how to best integrate the program into our SoCal-L school practices. So it's really one school, with dual language immersion. And we're also working on regular communication to the staff and to the community. And then last but not least, strength of SoCal Elementary is community. And that includes our home and school club and all the activities and the fundraising that they do, our school and community events. And included here this is a picture of our Halloween parade. And then to the left, we just had, we had assemblies each day. We did the Great Kindness Challenge this last week. And so we did daily assemblies. I want to say that was the first day of the week right there. And our home and school club is hard at work planning our spring carnival, which fingers crossed, right? We'll be able to do that, but we're hoping that we can. And our school site council and English language advisory council meet monthly to give input on school programs. And we've had our SoCal-L Spirit Days that bring a little more fun to everybody at school. And that concludes the SoCal-L presentation on our school programs. And happy to answer any comments, questions, clarification.
All right, board, now's the time to hop in if you have any questions or comments. Thank you, Principal Witter, for an awesome presentation. Your presentation and Ted's comments also make me really want to get myself down there to see some things in person. So thank you. And Carolyn, it looks like you wanted to chime in.
Yes, thank you so much for this presentation. Just a lot of useful information, and it's great to see the pictures of the kids doing just regular student things and the enrichment classes. I wanted to ask you a question about the data meetings. Is that for every single student? Are they all represented there on that board, or is it a subset of the students that are discussed?
It's all the students. Yeah, no, and it's really impressive because, being new to SoCal-L, I was able to really step into a really strong process. But no, it's all the students. And then by doing all the students, right, you're looking at, I don't know, where is everyone? How do we push everyone forward? Like, it's not just an intervention practice.
Thank you.
Cool.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I was thinking about the Life Lab, and back in the days when I coached softball, and a ball went into, that was just nothing but berries and poison oak and whatever in that whole area. And if a softball went in there, it's gone. It was like the Sandlot. There was a big monster in there and just gobbled it up. And it just amazes me how much land is there in that one triangle. It's amazing. Being able to, well, I'm sure the soil's really rich there too in the ground. But I enjoyed the walk with you and going through the classrooms and the calming room, the calming room where the kid they were jumping around. Okay. that's great that they have that. One student just put on his shoes and left and went back to class, and he was calm, and I think it's a great thing to have. The whole school overall was a lot of fun to visit and walk the grounds with you too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the presentation, and I hope I get the opportunity soon as well to see the campus, and thank you for all that you've done in the short time you've been with us. It's really exciting.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right. I think we've heard from everyone, and Phil. All right.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It's always great to see pictures of that campus. We remember the old days with the portables, so and hopefully there's no leaks. Let me ask you, have there been any behavioral challenges coming back to in-person?
I mean, my quick answer would be yes. And I think just, this is just kids being out of school for as long as they were. So yeah, and so as I had pointed out in the presentation, so one of the things that we had done was we had worked on we have some kids that need additional support, and not just kind of our typical school-wide management system. And so that's why we put a lot of time into sort of our tier 2 level, which are our behavior plans that have been really successful with some of our kids. So it's really kind of just adjusting to where they are. But I don't know, I would just say SoCal, wonderful kids. And it's just, yeah, after being out of school for a while, we did see that. And so it's just been a piece of what we've worked on this year.
Great, thank you. I think we have all the board questions. I was going to see if we had any questions or comments from any members of the public.
Don't have anything on text.
Nothing on email.
No one on Zoom.
Okay, thank you so much. We really appreciate the presentation. Go on to our next presentation, our climate tech presentation, and I think Michelle's going to introduce that one for us.
Yes, good evening again, board. I have Tyler and Rob joining us this evening from Climate Tech. They've presented to the board in the past, and they're going to give us an update on our ongoing project. I'm really excited. Today it was kind of fun. Rob happened to stop by the office for me to sign some paperwork, and we went out to look at the windows at New Brighton. That project is out for bid right now, so fingers crossed we get that we get that bid to come in and we can get that project underway and rolling. But it was just kind of fun because it really made it so much more real. We're getting into construction again, which I know is no one's favorite thing in the world, but to get to see the outcome of these construction projects that are just going to make a world of difference to each of our sites, I'm really excited about it. So with that, Rob?
Yep, I'm here.
There we go.
There we go.
We hear you, but we don't see you.
Okay, I've got my camera on, but we may have, I've got a PowerPoint as well to slide up. So that's better to look at than my face anyways.
Are you able to share the PowerPoint, or would you like me to do that?
I can if you'd like.
Perfect, because that tech is not my forte.
I've got share ability. Give me just 1 second to pull that up here.
While you're doing that, Rob, I just want to thank Climate Tech for co-sponsoring the budget thing that they did with Capital Advisors. It was kind of nice to see the name of our vendor up there with all those other heavy duties from the state of California. So thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. It's our pleasure, and it's great information to share with all the districts throughout the state, really to keep everybody informed on what's happening in Sacramento, and especially when it comes to school budgets. Let's see if I can get this shit.
And I know Tyler is here with us. Is he en route or? Yep.
I'm here, Michelle. I'm just keeping it on mute here, just to make sure Rob can share and go forward. But great to see everybody. Thank you.
Perfect.
I believe I've got this ready to go. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for the introduction, Michelle, and thank you, President Miller and the rest of the board and the community that's joining us this evening. Really excited to be with you tonight, share with you some updates on our comprehensive program. I know not a lot's been seen on campus, to Michelle's point, really been ramping up behind the scenes, but that's by design for a couple reasons. First, there's a lot of engineering, analysis, surveying, geotech studies that go on, DSA work ahead of time before we actually get on site, which takes a few months, but also looking at really taking advantage of the summer break and lining up work so that instead of interfering with the classes while they're in session, interfering with students while they're there, trying to fit major HVAC overhauls and additions into short breaks and weekends, really wanting to take advantage of that summer as it comes. So a lot of work behind the scenes, just aligning things to get us ready for that. If you jump, if I jump to the next slide, there we go. So kind of want to break it down. I know you've seen a lot of these categories in the past. This is a good summary of all the different things that are going to be going on or have been going on, kind of broken apart by different measure. So I'll start off with water. That's the irrigation controls district wide for every campus. 100% complete. Everything's installed. The Wi-Fi controllers all come back remotely for Steve and his team to be able to schedule, turn off things when it's going to rain. But that's completely done. So as we head back out of the rainy season and into spring and summer, everything's ready to go there to keep things irrigating well. As Michelle mentioned, the next category, looking at the windows and some of the LED lighting that we're continuing for the district. Over at New Brighton, we did complete the walks for the window RFP for all the classrooms and some of the supporting buildings on campus. Be finalizing those bid packages here in the next couple of weeks, ideally back to you for approval here in the next couple board meetings. And then going, again, lining that work up for summer to be replacing those windows if all things go to plan. And then the lighting, the district had done a ton of work ahead of time on moving towards LED and kind of wrapping up the few remaining fixtures throughout the district, ordering those materials this month. Again, kind of aligning that for summer work. Electrical upgrades. This is a big chunk of the program to support the air conditioning that's going to be added. We've gone through our design period. We're ordering the equipment this month. We're right now pending all things with PG&E good to go, scheduled for the first part of summer to get this equipment in and installed so that moving to the next category, the HVAC can be installed right after and have power and be good to go. As you can see, we've already ordered the equipment for New Brighton. Main Street and the gardens are being ordered this month, and all that lines us up for schedule with lead times and everything for work to be completed this summer. Building automation, that comes after the HVAC is in to put the controls on all the new air conditioning systems, schedule them, set points, everything there. Be ordering those materials here in the next few weeks, early part of March. Again, all that arriving for summer as well. And then the last category, the renewables and power resiliency. So the generator will be ordered here in the next couple of weeks. That's for New Brighton, the multi-purpose there. And then we're completing our engineering work for all of the solar arrays. That'll be going to DSA in early March. We've just about to open up all of our DSA submission windows. All of that timeline is going to line up right perfectly for summer, so that we'll be installing all of those arrays in summer as well. Moving to the next slide, I'm going to give you some visuals of what's been going on, where we're at and where we're going. So here in the old cooling tower at Main Street, that'll be out this summer, being replaced with a brand new marine coated, prepared for the environment cooling tower. It's an example of one of the old thermostats of the district. Those will be out, standardizing again district-wide on controls so that, again, Wi-Fi enabled. Steve can remotely access any of the thermostats and schedule anything across the district. And then that's an example right there of the windows at New Brighton that'll be replaced here this summer. Some examples of some of the work that has been done on site as well. So I mentioned the geotech and surveying. So for all of the solar, everywhere that we're going to be drilling into the ground, we've got to make sure that the ground can support it. So we've already gone out and drilled pilot holes and taken soil samples of all the different locations of where pylons will be for the solar. So that's the gardens right there showing where the array is and where we've taken samples. And that picture on the left is basically what's left when we're done taking the samples. So we don't leave a hole in the ground, fill it with asphalt until we come back this summer and actually put all the big poles in and the solar structures. And then finally here, this is an example of some of the stuff that's been done. So these are some of the irrigation controls that have been put in. Again, across the district, every site's gotten these new controllers, all Wi-Fi enabled, all come back to basically Steve's phone so he can remotely access these, schedule them, turn them on and off when it's raining. And that's it's a good summary so far of where we're at. So again, a lot of things are coming this summer, a very, very exciting few months ahead of us here. And will be lots to see as we come back to you probably end of the summer with another update with, you'll have seen basically all summer, all the things that are happening. So a lot more to see to come.
Thank you so much. Is this a good time for any board member questions or comments? Yeah. All right. Oh, good. Now we're back to our squares. Okay. Any board members want to chime in with questions or comments?
I have a quick question. Thank you for all of that. And we are like sorely need all of this stuff. So I had a question on the solar. Are we contemplating battery storage? And if not, is there a way that we can add that?
Are you talking for like if power goes out, that we have stored power?
Right.
Okay. That's a question. Where'd he go?
At this point in time, we haven't. It's absolutely something that could be integrated into the solar systems moving forward.
Okay. And then another question. We were also talking about reducing the size of the windows. Were we able to do that?
We're discussing that right now with the contractors.
Oh, good.
Potentially having a carpenter come in and modify those window openings a little bit to reduce the window size.
And then the most important question is, when will the existing solar at New Brighton go online?
That's a good question. That's a conversation we may have to have with PG&E to try and figure that one out. But as of right now, we're sized. The new solar coming online is sized to take over and fully back up that or fully power that site.
Though it's interesting the question you asked about the windows, because when we were looking at them today, when we were out there and standing, I don't think that I've actually stood so close to them, even from afar. You know, I know they need to be fixed very badly, but we were standing right there on top of them and looking at the panes and the mechanisms and all of that kind of stuff. And it just really reiterated the fact I can't wait for those windows to go, and the drapes that go with it, because with the new windows, they're going to have the reflective, either, you know, we're going to make sure that's going to be put in the reflective. I'm sorry, Rob had a very fancy name for it. The darkness of the windows.
Reflective film that'll go on. Yeah.
So that's going to help a lot, because that'll take that out of the classrooms. Those old curtains just need to go. They take up space and they're just really old. So that'll be nice. And then on top of everything else, possibly looking at reconfiguration of the size of the windows. There's a lot of windows. Like it's a lot of windows on those vistas.
Yeah. So are we going to have like hire a hazmat to take those curtains out?
I'm not sure. I don't think Steve's crew is going to be too happy with me, though.
Yeah, those curtains have a lot of history. No, I'm happy to see the windows being replaced, and that's something that, boy, I was hoping that would happen a long time ago, because even the teachers in there and the sun beating down in there, and it's some old stuff. So that's great. Down to where you have the irrigation, the Wi-Fi irrigation, are those 3 different locations, or is that one location in the pictures?
Back up here again. Believe that's 3 different locations. So depending on how things are zoned, there are several controllers at certain sites.
Mhm. Are they going to be secure from vandalism or something cool to steal?
We'll talk to Steve about locks some of those boxes.
Okay. That's it.
Was there also going to be some vehicle power charging stations too? Okay.
Yep. So as part of that, yep, we are in final design of that EV charging station at New Brighton as well. So
actually, I'll be bringing a change order to the board. We will have 2. One for vehicles in the front of the school. Rob can correct me if I'm incorrect on that one. And then one for eventually when we get our buses. And so we'll have one for them in the back part of that back parking lot back there.
Will the supply for those be scalable?
I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
yeah, as far as power available to power up more of those.
Yes.
I'll have to get back to you on that, on exactly how many could be added with the existing infrastructure and what will be coming in to support the new air conditioning. Yes, that's as many districts are finding out when they're switching their entire fleet over. It can be a concern at certain locations. So that we can run the numbers and see exactly how many more charging stations could go online before you'd have to change your capacities.
All right, so it sounds like at some point in the future, I'll be able to charge my EV during board meetings. So thank you for that. Any other comments or questions from board members? Okay, looks like we're good. Thank you so very much for the presentation, and we'll see if we have any questions or comments from members of the public.
Sorry, nothing on text.
Nothing on email, but I would just like to thank both Rob and Tyler for joining us this evening. I very much appreciate it because I couldn't do justice to the presentation and answer the question as well as they can. So I really appreciate you guys joining us this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
It looks like we might have a call-in user trying to unmute and make a comment. If so, go ahead. Okay, no other comments from the public on this item, right? Okay. All right, thank you then. Thank you very much for the presentation. We'll move on to our next item, 7C, the update of the governor's budget for the 2022-23 school year. Michelle, again.
That's me. Good evening again, board. And I'm going to try to share my screen. Oops, it is not allowing me to share. I have a new computer. I'm sorry.
You want to email it to me, Michelle?
Yes. Sorry about that. It just says that I'm not allowed. The board will hold on 1 second. All right. Sending that off to George right now. Sorry, George, thank you so much. So I can go ahead as George is getting that up and ready for you, just kind of give you background. The governor has released his 22-23 upcoming fiscal year budget, and which includes obviously our allocation for education. And so he's got a lot of new initiatives that are part of this budget presentation, as well as a lot of funding in a lot of different areas. One of the things that our new governor, or our current governor, likes to do is categoricals. So he's bringing them back with gusto, let me tell you. And it is hard to keep up. And I think our COE and all the support we get from fiscal services staff there, because if it wasn't for their reminders to us about our reporting and upcoming, just everything that goes with some of these ones that we would normally not be able to access if we didn't keep up with the reporting. So I genuinely appreciate it. Some of them, as you read, we'll go through them. Some of them do apply to our district. Some of them is unknown at this time, and I'm not sure exactly when the release will come. As you know, in prior years, when the governor would come out with the January budget, it was almost pretty much given that by May revise, it wouldn't change very much and that it would be automatically approved. That has not been the case in the last few years. And by the time it's made it all the way through full implementation, it has gone through a lot of different iterations. And so fingers crossed, but it could change a lot. And there's a lot of negotiations right now that they're working on. One of the items Mr. Domo had mentioned earlier regarding the governor's announcement for the, thank you, George, for the additional supplemental sick leave, which is also part of the budget package. And so more will be coming out on that as well. So yes, so here we go. The pandemic, that has created a lot of challenges for the last 2 years and probably the next couple of years. And one of the biggest struggles that comes from that is our revenue stream, which is based on an ADA, not enrollment. And so that has created an unstable multi-year projection because we've been through 2 years of hold harmless, but that is dissolving. And then there are some proposals in the upcoming budget to try to help mitigate those hard hits. Staffing shortages. This is across the board, across the state, across every industry that you look at. There, has been called many different things, the Great Resignation, the people leaving California, people preferring to work from home. And it's just, and we felt this here in our own district, struggling to fill positions when there isn't the availability that we used to have. Unemployment costs continue to rise. And we were going to have an extremely large hit on an increase in unemployment. It was going from a 0.005% to 1%, which for our district was roughly a $350,000 increase to unemployment in 1 year. And so thankfully, the governor and legislation stepped in to mitigate that full impact, and it was negotiated down to a 0.05, which was still about $150,000 impact to the district on top of what our normal unemployment would look like. Inflation, it's just on the rise. I mean, I think everyone feels it in every aspect. Car buying, food, everything is just going up. And so this is making it even harder for us. Kathy Giannini came in today and yesterday was coming in and talking to me. Every week it's a struggle to get items and they're through commodities. And so one of the things you're struggling with now is the shortage of paper products. And so there are just no paper products available for serving. And so she's trying to be super creative to try to figure out ways to get those kids the food with the resources that we have available to us. So I know she works really hard at that. And just the cost. I mean, a lot of she's had to shift in what she's serving the kids just based on best prices that she can find out there, and try to help mitigate that inflation cost as well. And then revenue, Californian revenue are extraordinary. So California revenues are extraordinary while Californians find going about their ordinary lives more difficult every day. And I liked that comment. It was from the school services presentation, because it is true. You hear it in the news, you hear it everywhere. Our revenues, they're amazing. They're up, they're great, they're going. But yet a lot of people still struggle. And so it's very difficult to find that balance. It's looking right now, we'll have a general fund surplus of $45 billion in 22-23. And so from where we were 2 years ago, when we were looking at cutting billions of dollars off of our state and school budget. And so this is just amazing to see this number. I'm not sure where all that money's coming from, but it's great to see it. So next slide, George, please. Thank you. The budget proposes $16 billion to include $16 billion for K-14 LCFF education funding. This is just kind of a side note. 95% of the state general fund revenue comes from the big three tax sources: sales and use tax, corporation tax, and personal income tax. which revenue makes up 2/3 of the state's revenue and 70% of the big three revenues. And nearly 50% of state income tax is paid by just 1% of Californians. So when you think of that as a whole, you have one, very large income earning person leave the state and go to, say, Texas. They take all their money with them, and that can swing our state just like you wouldn't believe. And so state income tax is very volatile in the state of California. Right now, sales and use tax is going up, corporation taxes are going up, houses are selling like crazy. So that's bringing in a lot more state income as well. Next slide, George. The governor is proposing a 5.33% compounded COLA for the 22-23 year. This only applies to LCFF base grants per each grade span, which is great, but it isn't in total what the district spends. When you take into account our special education program and the contributions that we have to make to that program that are not funded where at the level that they should be. And so, but yet when we have cost increases, say as compensation or salary packages, that is what we consider a bifurcated COLA, because it's given to every program uniformly, no matter how much additional rent income we receive from it. Our supplemental grants are calculated based on the percentage of enrolled students who are EL free and reduced and foster youth. Our counts are extremely low. There's no hold harm provision to the free and reduced counts because we have universal feeding. And with universal feeding means you don't have to fill out a free and reduced form. We've tried education, and we reach out to our families and we let them know that it isn't just about our child nutrition program. It's about a lot of different services that can be provided to families by filling out that form and being able to show that for internet usage and all kinds of different rebates. But it did hit us. I mean, it did hit us significantly as far as a loss in funding under the supplemental area. Next slide. The ADA cliff, declining enrollment. So I talked a little bit about this at our last board meeting. One of the proposals that's coming through in a couple of different variations and forms is to do a 3-year rolling average as opposed to the better of your current or prior year. So this would be great for us because we are 1920. Was a good year for us. And we were held harmless in 2021 with that great year of enrollment in ADA. And then we have the current year, which is not so great, but we have 2 good years of hold harmless to go with the third. But, eventually that does, catch up with each other, and year over year, you're averaging the decline. And so it will soften the blow for next year, but in the out years, it still isn't going to help. I mean, everybody's hope was that we would be funded on enrollment. We're only one of 6 states in the United States that isn't funded on enrollment. We are funded on attendance. And so that alone would have helped districts level out where we're at right now. Next slide. So I talked a little bit about special education funding. They actually will receive their 5.33% increase, which is great on their COLA. However, they're still significantly underfunded from any program that we have. There's $500 million in special ed funding. Some of the different things they're coming up with is they're looking at amending the funding formula for special education. We receive our special education funding. It goes through our SELPA. Our SELPA then takes that funding. It's a calculation across the board through the SELPA. Monies are taken off the top for students who are in regional or placement programs. And then, what's left basically is then given back to the schools as their allocation. So the state is looking at some different ways to fund their special education funding at the SELPA level. And I know there's been a lot of discussion in regards to if that's really something that's going to help or if it could harm some districts. There's $500 million in infrastructure necessary to support general special education students in inclusive classrooms. There's some $2 million in one-time funds for early identification for learning disabilities and $60 million in one-time funding to provide training for educators on effective use of these tools. Again, as you can see just in this one slide, we're looking at the possibility of creating 4 new categorical programs right here alone, only under special education. And some of these programs are very I'll take any dollar the district can get, but can be very minimal with a lot of reporting attached to them. So it is hard to keep up. Next slide. So just kind of an overall on some of the other different programs that are out there, 200 million to create and expand multilingual school or classroom libraries. I am happy to say that we have been able to support our libraries and our school classroom libraries with the purchase of additional books last year and this year. And we have already started this expansion program, which I'm very proud of. And we've used COVID relief funding to try to help kickstart that program. But it's good to see that the state is looking at allocating some funding towards that. 24 million to waive teacher examination fees. A lot of this goes back to credentialing. As you can see, there's a lot of money that they're putting towards helping students get their credentials maybe faster, easier, with a little bit of financial ease, especially if you're a student. Some of these fees I've come to find out can be very expensive to get your credentialing and everything that goes with it. So not necessarily possibly that these monies would come to the district, but they are grants that are out there that we can help our staff and potential staff look at accessing. And there's another 3.4 billion in ongoing ELO funding. This is the ELO program. We've talked about this in the past. This is the extended learning opportunities. In its current form is the extended learning opportunities grant. In the new form, it'll be the extended learning opportunities program, ELOP, they're calling it. And they're looking at maybe revamping how some of this funding is given, because the restrictions that are put on here are not bad in and of themselves, but they're very difficult for districts to keep up with. A lot of this money is being allocated towards extending the learning day, which everybody agrees is a great thing. But right now, when there are not enough people to work to fill positions that we currently have, trying to expand has been very difficult. Not through, I know Jessica and the principals have been working every angle they can to try to expand our learning opportunities, but it's just hard right now. And they're putting a lot of restrictions on the money and a lot of timelines that I'm not sure districts are going to be able to meet, just based on the fact that they cannot implement the programs in time. Next slide. A little bit on CNS, they're going to continue, the state and the federal government will continue universal feeding, a little bit different than the form that it is now, but it's still in essence, every student every day is entitled to 2 free meals. Kathy just gave me her numbers for January, which I was genuinely shocked at, because our attendance obviously has been a little low this month due to some absences. And so yet she still served almost 19,000 meals between our 4 school sites. So, her staff is working super hard, and even with our low enrollment, our kids are taking advantage of our program, which is great. One of the things I just got done applying for last week was the upgrade school kitchen infrastructure and equipment grant. It's pretty much a guaranteed $25,000 for new equipment for the kitchen or infrastructure updates, and then another $2,500 for any kind of professional development or professional growth in use of this equipment and or farm to table, scratch cooking, any of those things. Also, they're putting out $2.2 billion for school construction project bonds, which is great. We've just been notified that we've made it off the unfunded list and onto the funded list for a portion of our modernization money. So it looks like soon we should be seeing about $800,000 in our playground projects that we've applied for. So that's great. And then 1.5 billion to support school transportation programs. Oh, this one's a double-edged sword. I'm really excited that they're putting money into this program. However, these will be extremely competitive grants, and they will go for priority of school districts that are school-wide 50% or more free and reduced, which I understand, but that does knock us out of a lot of the opportunity to apply for these grants, because they will go to those districts first. But I am excited that the governor's putting money towards this. Next slide. Augmented COLA. Oh, what's not included? I'm sorry. The augmented COLA. And so right now we're seeing a 5.33% COLA increase. However, like I said, that is universally placed on all of the programs that are being offered. The hold harmless for LEAs who see the drop off in our free and reduced numbers in our applications. They need to come up with a different mechanism for reporting this information. CalSTRS and CalPERS they're going up, and there is no relief in the current budget to offset any of these costs. And more discretionary dollars tied up to restrictive programs that make it more difficult. If we continued on the path of put it to base in LCFF across the board, I think a lot of districts would be able to spend this money in a lot easier fashion. And I think, yep, this is my last slide. So what lies ahead for the federal government? You know, there's a bunch going up there and coming and deciding. And so they're still trying to figure out their budget, which could have a big impact if they do any more relief funding for COVID. Again, talked a little about the volatility of the taxes, of the big three taxes, declining enrollment, and the housing market. These all play huge roles in how our funding comes in and how stable that funding can be. And with that, I think George tremendously, I had my quote I've come to take to put in my slides, and I really, really like that one. Words mean more than what is set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning. And I just really resonated with that. It's Maya Angelou, and I like that comment because I do a lot of pen to paper. And I don't get to do a lot of human voice. And so I just felt it was a very appropriate way to end this presentation. So I thank the board very much. I thank George very much for helping me. And any questions?
Board, any questions? Yep, Phil?
Yay. And yeah, about that guy who moved, he'll be back. So here's an oddball question. Do we have any outstanding unfunded mandates to be paid to us?
No, in the sense of there are a lot of unfunded mandates, but because we, as most districts, decided to move towards our mandated cost as we fill out an application basically that says that we know we have all these unfunded mandates, and we'll just take a portion of them because we're guaranteed at least that amount of money, and we give up our right to the remainder of them. And so, but they're still out there, maybe one day.
It sounds like a creditor's agreement, right?
Yeah.
So for the special ed, does that include improvements for access? You know, like from the parking lot to the classroom, that kind of stuff?
Oh, infrastructure upgrades, access? No, not that particular funding, no.
All right. And then for the kitchen stuff, can we buy more cold storage?
We can, yes. Yes.
All right. And then the buses, should we start a JPA?
It is funny that you say that because I am meeting with two of our sister districts, and we're in conversation about how best to utilize the resources that we have ourselves, Live Oak and city schools, to just talk about what we can do and the shortage of buses and bus drivers and mechanics and all the things that go with that. And we're in such close proximity to each other to see if there's anything we can do to help each other out.
Great. Thank you.
Carolyn.
I know this is just a drop in the bucket, but the money that can go towards expanding the multilingual school and classroom libraries, can that be used for our dual language immersion for the textbooks, or is it just for library books?
The current language doesn't specify. That's about all that was written in there. We do have funding set aside to support that program, but if that is an acceptable use, that would be great. I'm assuming more will come out, and it'll probably be pretty minimal, and it'll be one time. But yeah, like I said, I'm happy with anything we get.
I have a comment and not a question, and it's on your final quote in your presentation. I love it as well. And I think you used the quote about in a previous presentation about the budget is more than just numbers. It's an embodiment of our values, and right. So similarly, this quote where you're words mean more than it's what's set down on paper. It takes the human voice to infuse them with deeper meaning. And I just want to tell you, Michelle, that you are that voice for me. I am not a numbers person. This is not what I do in my profession. And so I really appreciate these presentations because you're giving me the context that I need and giving that deeper, more understandable meaning to me and probably to lots of other people who are participating and watching. So I really do appreciate it. And I am excited for the numbers and the actual outlook. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting all that together. I love this slideshow. Electric buses would be really, really great to have. Like Phil said, maybe a JPA or something, but that's down the road. Just, as you're doing this presentation, and I was just thinking, it seems like we're getting more support from the government, from the state, the capital, the feds than we have in the past. Do you think nowadays?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the state has more funding available to itself. And I think that the governor really purposefully is setting money aside to programs that definitely need that support. I do think that the federal government, especially through COVID, has stepped up and has helped with the COVID relief funding. Unfortunately, with the federal funding, it comes with a lot of strings and it is only one time. And so part of the push and pull of it is that the money is great, but when we can't have it ongoing, it's difficult to introduce integrated arts and counselors and all of these fantastic programs that we currently have, but we can't keep. So that's the downside.
It's nice that they threw some, for the teachers. Instructors, and we've got these different programs, but we need it for our instructors too.
I'm very excited to see in the state budget any help to help existing staff or anybody who wants to become a teacher, especially right now.
Right.
Anything that we can help people out there who want to go into the teaching profession is amazing.
Right, as you said in the beginning, that's right.
Thanks, team. Phil?
So I have a couple of comments. One is you were talking about shortages. So this is a prescription bottle for 30 pills because they don't have the smaller ones. And no findings. Yay. I can't imagine how you managed to do that with all the freaking moving parts last year. So thank you.
Yeah, I know that was a spoiler alert. I just couldn't keep it to myself. Well, I always enjoy presenting to the board. Like I said, so much of my work is numbers and we go to different meetings, especially I know Scott and Jessica can attest to this. And, different labor groups and different people ask me about budget and questions. And I just get so excited and I talk so fast and you just keep going and going. And then I forget that it's not everybody's favorite topic. So I always appreciate getting to present to you guys.
Thank you for demystifying the process. Much appreciated. At least it's demystifying for me. Others might be better versed. I don't think we have any more questions or comments from the board, so I want to check in and see if we have any public comments.
There's nothing on text.
Nothing on email.
And I don't
see
any.
No one else on Zoom.
Thank you. And George, if you don't pop in, I'm going to assume if I don't see a new square pop up, then we're okay on Zoom. So thank you so much. All right. Thanks again, Michelle. We're going to move on to our last discussion item, which is an LCAP update and with Jessica. Hi, Jessica. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you once again. Greetings to the board. And it is time for our LCAP bite. And I want to start with Michelle. Thank you again for allowing me to follow you. Tough act, but I love our work together because we really do have a great synergy of, budget in alignment with philosophy, pedagogy, and passion. So Maya Angelou is one of my favorites, and so we're connecting in that space as well. Tonight, I'm happy to share with the board and our community the work that we have in alignment with Goal 3 of our local control accountability plan. And thankfully, because of our board's work and our district staff work over the past year plus, the alignment with the California Department of Education, we worked very hard to leverage some local resources to begin providing our administrative team with professional development in the area of culturally responsive leadership. And this is a really important area for our entire educational community. So for 1 powerful hour once monthly, our administrative team works directly with Melissa Roberts and Candace Isaacs, who are mostly celebrated for their work with the Santa Cruz Silicon Valley New Teacher Project, to engage in this important culturally responsive work. And it's really a learning for us all. It's not a new topic, but it's an important topic. And to lead it really supports our steps in teaching through it. It's through this work that we are focusing on 4 major components of Zaretta Hammond's rigor and relevance framework, which are awareness, learning, partnerships, information processing, and community building. And in all of these, we've really been asked to do some big lifts. One is to consider our own cultural lens, to consider our personal biases and our organizational biases, to look at the systems that we have created and are in place, and to look at those that might be more prospectively relevant for our community. So we do this in an attempt to really lead and learn. As you know, the Foundation for Cultural Responsive Education is the approach that leverages students' strengths, and especially students of color and linguistics that are not English dominant. The major goal of this responsive teaching is to reverse the patterns of underachievement for students of color and for those students who speak an English that is dominant and not predominantly English. This type of education requires the educators and our community at large to recognize the cultural capital and linguistic capital that students bring to the classroom. And we are really thankful for our partnerships with the County Office of Education and through the literature that's being provided to us to do this work together. And it's essential work. We're working very hard at it, and it's very new for us, but it's really at the root of our racial justice task force. It's at the root of every changing system that we have and that we're continuing to investigate. And so, we really have a lot of discussion left to be had on this topic, but we're very excited that we are engaging our leadership team in the growing learning in this area. So I just want to thank our county partners, but also to our staff and our school board for really building the momentum that has brought us to this place. So I am welcoming you to any questions or comments on our just short LCAP bite for tonight.
I just have a comment. And so I had a question about earlier you said that we're in the parent conference mode right now. How would you rate the engagement there? I mean, more parents, not as many, what?
I think I'd give you an anecdotal response, Phil, on this one, just because I haven't been in every conference, and really to measure engagement, you actually have to be in the language of the conference to see the level of engagement that's happening. I think in terms of numbers of parents that are engaging in these conferences, I think we have a very high level of parents who are engaging in these conferences. And I think, what we're finding too is that some questions that we are answering have not yet been asked because they have not yet been known. And so I hope that makes sense. But, really to our teachers, this is an important discussion point. And when we talk to our parent leadership team, especially our English learner leadership team, these are things that they're most interested in knowing and finding out about. And what's great about this is our classroom teachers are knowingly speaking about the students' English language trajectory and have been so willing to engage in it.
All right, thank you. I probably missed it at the very beginning of your LCAP bite, but who are the members of the team who are reading this text and doing the discussion groups on it? I mean, I'm not asking for names. I just didn't know what levels of staff are represented.
Right. Well, right now we call us learning leaders, and this is our site administrative teams, and the superintendent, the director of student services, and myself. And really, it's for us to really understand the pedagogy behind culturally responsive education and how we can best lead the learning of our teachers and our community in the next steps of this process. Though I will say, honestly, most of our practitioners in our classrooms know this all too well, and probably with a very high level of expertise because they are doing it every single day.
Excellent, thank you. Board, any other questions or comments?
No, thank you for the presentation, and my word for tonight, pedagogy. Never, I don't think I ever heard that, but anyways, yeah, but thank you for your presentation as always.
Yes, thank you. So we'll check in and see if we have any comments from or questions from members of the public.
Nothing on text.
Nothing on email.
No one on Zoom.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you again, Jessica. We'll move on to our one action item. Consider adopting the resolution authorizing use of remote teleconferencing.
So previously the board adopted under the provisions of AB 361, a resolution that allows this meeting to take place as it is currently, virtually. And while the data is improving, as I mentioned in the opening of the meeting, following the Omicron surge, we are still not back to the levels that we were, prior to that, prior to winter break, for example. And so I think it's a worthy consideration for the board to consider extending another 30 days, as is required every 30 days, to reanalyze the data related to, in our case, COVID, and to consider holding the next couple of board meetings virtually.
All right. I've got a quick question. So our next meeting is February 16th. The meeting after that is March 2nd. So does that put us within the right, it's like 30 calendar days, so March 2nd would still
Correct.
be,
Yeah,
okay.
because of the shorter nature of February, that does put the next two meetings within the 30-day window.
Okay. Sometimes I still have to do the February has 28 days alone. Anyone else know that rhyme? Okay. Okay. Anyone else have questions or comments? I'm sure.
I have no question.
Oh.
All right. So
if we don't have any questions or comments from the board, I'll ask for a motion and then see if there's anyone from the public.
I move.
Hey,
wait,
no, I was doing the clicker.
Oh, okay.
I'll second
All right.
it.
So Phil makes the motion. Ted, was that a second?
Yes.
All right. And are there any questions or comments from the public before we take a vote on this resolution?
Nothing on text.
Nothing on email.
No one on Zoom.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. And Linda, when you're ready, we'll do a roll call vote.
Trustee Donnelly,
Aye.
Trustee Friedman,
Aye.
Trustee Rodriguez,
Aye.
Trustee Izant Gonzalez,
Aye.
Trustee Jackson Miller.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. That's All in favor, and resolution passes. Next item is correspondence. Anyone have any correspondence to bring up at this point? We rarely have actual physical correspondence received. Future agenda items, and I just wanted to make a note. Last time, I think we may have had a little discussion about what the line item is on our agenda where it says item and requested by and date. And I think that's sort of a placeholder for Linda as she's taking notes as we have these discussions, where she can then write in and make sure it gets reflected in the minutes, captured in the minutes when one of us requests an agenda item. So that's my take on that. That being said, any trustees have any future agenda items to request at this time? All right, checking the squares. Looks like we're all good. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
That was Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Enthusiastic aye. All
I
right.
guess like in Jeopardy, I should say, who's making the motion? Who made the motion?
All right, Linda, we got us all though? Got it all?
I've gotten
Perfect.
everything.
Thank you so much. All right. Good night, team. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Aye.
We'll see you.
Night.
Good night.
George.
Yes, thank you, George.